have a question for you, my friend. Have you ever noticed how children take and accept compliments? I recently noticed this in my own kiddos. I said to my oldest the other day, "Hey, you look really awesome in that shirt." And he said, "Uh-huh. And did you notice my shoes?" This is a pattern for him. When I say things like, "Hey, you did awesome on your spelling test," he's like, "Uh-huh. And I was third in the class." Or, "Hey, I really liked how you held the door for those people as they walked into the restaurant." He's like, "Uh-huh. And did you notice how I said hi?" The coolest thing about kids is that when you give them a compliment, they don't have this infiltration of self-doubt or these messages and narratives embedded in their psyche already. No, they know who they are. And when they hear praise and they hear a compliment, they allow it to make them feel good and then further acknowledge how awesome they are. And I just thought, like, how cool would this be if we as adults could learn to do the same thing? I have only known one other adult in my life who has been able to do this, and she's one of my good friends. But I remember one time giving her a compliment and saying, "Hey, I really liked what you did with this thing that she was working on." She goes, "I know, it's so good, right?" And it stuck with me. We don't do this as adults. We don't do this, especially as women. So today in this episode, I want to talk to you guys about what it means to accept a compliment. Compliments are not mere words of flattery. They actually hold this immense power to positively impact our self-esteem and our body image. I want to dive into the science behind accepting and giving compliments, and we're going to unpack the influence of compliments on our own self-perception. If you are someone that gets a little uncomfortable when someone pays you a compliment, or maybe you don't feel like you get them very often, I'm really glad you're here, because we are going to talk about how we can all make the world a little bit brighter of a place by giving and accepting compliments and harnessing their potential to cultivate a healthier and more positive self-esteem. Welcome to the Fuel Her Awesome Show. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a wife and a mama, and I'm juggling work and misbehaved dogs, but they're really cute. I'm a sports dietitian and empowered eating coach. I am absolutely obsessed with nutrition science and helping you crank up the volume on your body's biofeedback. Let's pivot your relationship with your food and your body from doubt and distrust to a confident bond that can weather the seasons of life as we discover the healthiest version of you with empowered eating. Today's episode is brought to you by Studio 410. Are you a boss babe with absolutely no design skills? Girl, me too. That's why I had to hire someone. If you're tired of wasting your precious time trying to save your business from looking like a hot mess, Kelsey Lensmeyer from Studio 410 is your girl. Kelsey is completely obsessed with turning small or home-based businesses into full-blown brands that are not only easy on the eye, they will totally stop potential customers in their tracks. Maybe you're just starting out and need a brand in a box, or perhaps you're ready to level up with a completely custom brand and website. No matter your budget, Studio 410 has an option for you. Ladies, even if you're not totally sure what you're looking for, let me tell you from experience that Kelsey will help you figure it out. Set up a coffee date with her, whether it's in person or virtually, one convo with her, and she will help you clearly map out your branding needs and get you set up. View all of her branding options or schedule with Kelsey at studio410.com. That's studio, STUDIO, FOUR10.com. Thanks, Studio 410, for sponsoring today's episode. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, this topic of conversation actually came up with a client I was recently speaking with, and it came up because I had paid her a compliment, and I could tell it made her uncomfortable. Like, she did not like hearing it. So I asked her, I said, I noticed your body language shifted when I paid you that compliment. I'm just curious, what do compliments bring up for you? And she had some really interesting insight. She shared with me that when she receives compliments, one, it makes her uncomfortable because she doesn't get them very often. Two, she really finds them hard to believe. And I think most of us can relate to that. I mean, how many times have you received a compliment and you either straight up reject it by saying, "Oh, no, it's not true," or you feel like you have to explain it. And what I mean by that is, like, when somebody says to you, "Hey, I really like your shirt," how many times do you say, like, "Oh, I got it on sale"? Like, you have to explain the reason you're actually wearing the shirt rather than just saying thank you. Most of us feel uncomfortable when we get these words of praise. But I want to be here today and make a case as to why we need to tap back into our inner kiddo and learn how to accept these compliments, hear these compliments, especially when they are from people that we love, and how we can use this to build our self-esteem and then pass that on to someone else. So let's break down some of the science behind accepting compliments. So there are 3 things that accepting compliments can do for us. So number 1 is research does show accepting compliments enhances our self-esteem. Research indicates that accepting compliments gracefully, so in other words, just saying thank you, like thanks for noticing, it can actually lead to an increase in low levels of self-esteem, because what it does is it gives us just a moment, like even if we don't 100% believe the compliment, it gives us just a moment to acknowledge and appreciate this positive feedback and reinforce any sense of self-worth that we might have internally. So for most of us that struggle with self-esteem or positive body image or feeling worthy enough, all those things, if somebody gives us a compliment, it doesn't mean we have to totally buy in. It doesn't mean saying thank you means we believe it 100%, but what it does is it confirms the maybe small part of us that does believe it. And if we're trying to grow our own self-esteem and our own self-worth, we need to hear these things. We need these doors to open so that we can grow in any validating thoughts we already have inside of us. The second thing accepting compliments can do is it allows us to recognize our own personal value. When we accept a compliment, it helps us to see those strengths inside of us that we may overlook. Like, how often do you guys go through your day and do 100 things and juggle all the balls, and at the end of the day, don't give yourself any credit for it because you just expect yourself to do that? When an outside party comes in and notices and says, hey, I notice you work really hard and you get the kids to school, or I notice you work all day and you somehow get a walk in. Like, how do you do it? That's amazing. When people point out our own personal strengths, they're catching things that we may not be giving ourselves credit for. This is so powerful because it allows us to develop a more accurate and balanced view of ourselves and what we're capable of. And then the third thing that accepting compliments can do is increase our performance. So research has shown that receiving compliments can improve performance and may even help us learn and advance a skill that we're working on. There was a study done in 2012 that suggested that when we try a new skill, such as dancing, running, playing, whatever it is, receiving praise helps our brain remember and repeat the skill. The study was done on 48 adults who were taught a certain finger tapping task, which is kind of funny to me. Like, can you imagine just sitting there having to tap your finger? 1/3 of the participants received praise from their performance. 1/3 received praise for another participant's performance. So in other words, they were telling them how good someone else was doing. And the third group received no praise at all. And what they found is the next day, the group that received praise from their own performance, they performed better on the task than others. Listen to how cool this is. The researchers believed that praise activates the striatum, which is one of the reward areas in our brain. And they think that by activating this specific area, praise improves the learning that occurs during sleep, a process referred to as skill consolidation. So in other words, by receiving compliments, we're actually allowing ourselves to learn and then perform better. And there's actually one more thing I want to highlight that I think accepting compliments can do for us. This was something that I at first observed, and then as I dove into researching for this podcast, I found there's actually science behind it. When we accept compliments, it makes us feel better and allows us to give more to those around us. And I just noticed that by observation. I mean, when I tell my kiddo, you look awesome in your shirt, or you play soccer really well, and he adds to it, he either performs better or then he's nicer to his brother after I give him that praise. Well, research conducted at the University of Berkeley actually found the same thing. They found that accepting compliments improves mood, self-confidence, and overall well-being, making you more likely to have positive encounters with those around you. And this brings us to the next part of this podcast, which is what happens when we give compliments. There are 3 main things that happen when we pass on a compliment. By genuinely giving compliments to others, we actually encourage our own self-acceptance and self-compassion. So not only are we brightening someone else's day, but we're still working on building our own self-love. Expressing appreciation for someone else's qualities or achievements, it creates this atmosphere of positivity and kindness, which when we give to others, we're more likely to give it to ourselves. Not always, but we're at least opening that door. We're fostering a healthy environment for self-esteem growth. The second thing it does is it creates this positive social and human connection. When I was talking with my client who struggled to accept compliments, one of the things she realized is that She didn't like it because it made her feel a little vulnerable. She didn't like that people were paying attention to her or noticing her. And we talked about why that might be a problem. When we are giving or receiving a compliment, we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with people, to be open, which is at the core of human connection. So giving someone else a compliment, it fosters this positive social interaction, this deep human connection, and allows us to build stronger relationships with people. When we acknowledge and celebrate the strengths or the achievements of those women around us, it actually creates this reciprocal cycle of support and encouragement, boosting everyone's sense of belonging and self-worth. So it really is the gift that keeps on giving. Now, this third piece is my absolute favorite. When you're giving the compliment, you're in charge of what you're noticing and what you're choosing to praise in someone else. And when we consider our culture that is hyper focused on appearance, we can actually use compliments to start shifting that narrative and shift the focus away from appearance. Compliments that focus on someone's strengths, their skills, their internal qualities, this redirects attention away from any appearance-based judgments. Now, don't get me wrong. I am throwing out compliments on some awesome shoes every single time I see them. However, giving compliments to our friends that require more attention to their personality, to their interactions with others is something that can go a lot farther. This is a little challenging though. Watch, when a little girl walks up to you, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to comment on how pretty she looks or how, cute her dress is. And believe me, I do that because it is fun. But I'm wondering if we could take time first to notice something else about her. Like, hey, I love how you walked up and gave me a hug. You are so friendly. Or I love how you have a smile on your face all the time. It makes me want to talk to you. These diverse types of compliments create a more holistic view of beauty, and they can help reduce negative body image and concerns by promoting this healthier relationship with our body. Because it's not just about how we look, right? We acknowledge that people are noticing more about us than just how we appear. Okay, let's recap. So lots going on here. Accepting compliments does three things for us. It enhances our self-esteem. It allows us to recognize our own personal value and accomplishments, and it improves our positive self-perception. Giving compliments also gives back to us. It, one, promotes self-acceptance. Two, it creates this positive social and human connection. And three, gives us an opportunity to shift focus away from appearance. There's so much that can come from compliments. So here's your mission after listening to this podcast, should you choose to accept it. I want to challenge you to do two things. Number one, pass out compliments. Let's pass them out like candy, but let's do it with a research-backed twist, and that is this. Receiving compliments focusing on internal qualities rather than physical appearance led to improved body satisfaction and reduced body-related concerns. So let's pass out compliments on people's qualities, how they interact with others, how they make you feel, their listening skills, their ability to juggle all the things. Let's focus on things besides what they are wearing or what they look like. If you want to throw those in afterwards, cool. But before you do, let's highlight some of their characteristics and who they are as a human being. So that's challenge number one, focusing on internal qualities rather than physical appearance. Challenge number two is accept the compliments that are given to you. The very next time you receive a compliment, whether it's from the barista at the coffee shop or someone very dear to you, I want you to just say thank you. Hear them. They didn't throw that out there because they're bored. They threw that compliment out there because they noticed. And instead of pushing back, rejecting it, explaining it, I just want you to say thank you. Allow it to sink into your psyche because maybe, just maybe, we can start to shift some of that negative narrative that you have on autoplay in your head about who you are, what you look like, and some of those self-doubts that we carry with us. I want to end with a little story. When my kids were little, I'm talking toddler aged, my husband and I worked opposite shifts. So I would work during the day and he'd be home with the kids, and then I'd come home, we'd pass the kids off, he'd go to work and work swing shift. He's a cop, so he would be out on the streets during the evening night times. It was a lot. I remember at one point calculating that I was spending 14 hours a week putting my kids to bed by myself. I was absolutely exhausted. I was a new working mom. I was trying to figure out my identity and the balance of being a working mom, 2 kids, cop's wife. It was a lot. It was a lot. And then, of course, there's a lot that comes with each of those roles, right? Well, I remember one night going, I do not want to make dinner. I don't want to be here. The kids are going to be all over the place. I'm going to do something brave, and I'm going to go out to eat with my 2 kids. I don't know. I was feeling ambitious. Also probably bored at home. So I take my kids out to this local burger joint, and it's just me and them, and I'm thinking it's going to be a great social time, but it was a freaking disaster. I mean, we spilled at least 2 drinks. Food was everywhere. I don't think I ate very much because, I was so focused on them, and half my French fries were on the floor. This woman came up to me towards the end of my meal, and she looked me dead in the eyes, and I don't remember her exact words, but it was something to the effect of, Mama, you are so patient, and you're doing a really good job. And I didn't believe it at the time, because at the time I thought, like, what an idiot am I coming out here with my 2 kids by myself. They're a mess. People are probably looking at me. We're loud. We're, again, a mess. She saw past that and saw the energy and the effort I was putting into my kids at that moment in time. And she told me about it. Again, I didn't believe it. I didn't totally feel it, but I appreciated it, because what it did was it allowed me to tap into that part of me that knew I was doing my best. Even though it didn't feel like it out on the outside, deep inside, I knew I was trying really, really hard. And even though I may not have been meeting our social standards of what a mom should be, which is a whole nother topic, but I didn't feel like I was living up to that. Somebody highlighted and gave me a compliment saying, I notice you, I see you. And I'll never forget that night, because I totally switched vibes after she said that to me. And I thought, it doesn't matter that we've spilled so much. I'm going to help the waitress clean it up. It doesn't matter that my kids didn't eat a perfect meal. What matters is that I'm here spending time with them, and I am doing the best I can. It may not always look great on the outside, but inside, I am doing the best I can, and I have to give myself credit for that. Took the kids home, spent the 2 hours that I typically spend putting them to bed. But I went to bed that night feeling that even though everything wasn't perfect, I was feeling empowered. Like, I knew I was doing what I could, and that my kids were going to appreciate the fact that I showed up for them, even amidst the messy dinners and all of the things. So that compliment went a really long way for me, and it carried me for a long time. I wish I could find her to tell her how much I appreciated that. In a world where moms are judged all the time, and by other moms, by everyone around us, by ourselves most of all, the fact that she took a minute to give me that compliment really carried me for a long time and encouraged me and allowed me to tap into something that I already had inside of me, but the external narrative wasn't necessarily allowing me to grow in. It was amazing. So I want to invite you to give that to someone else, but most importantly, give that to yourself. And you're going to be able to do that by doing these 2 things. Number 1, passing out compliments like candy that have nothing to do with someone's appearance. It's going to take a little bit more work, a little bit more human connection, but you'll see it goes a lot farther. And number 2, next time you get that compliment, I want you to just say thank you. What if you did believe them? Even if it's not 100% true in your mind, what if you did believe them? What kind of energy is that going to allow you to take in to the next thing you have in the day? I hope you give and receive so many compliments this week that you just are in the best mood ever. The world needs people who feel better about themselves, because what we do when we feel better about ourselves is we leave the world better than how we found it. I hope you have a beautiful, compliment-filled day, my friend. Cheers and happy eating. Gosh, I'm so glad you joined me today. If today encouraged you, would you take a minute and encourage me by leaving a review for the show? I read every single one of these reviews, and your words, they mean so much to me. This podcast is here to support you weekly, but it only scratches the surface. To learn more on how you can become an empowered eater, snag my free workshop, How to Eat Intuitively and Hit Your Goals Without Obsessing Over Food, at jessbrownrd.com. Don't forget to join me right here next Monday, where I cannot wait to fuel your awesome. Cheers, my sweet friend, and happy eating.